Welcome, dear listeners, to a tale that begins with a simple walk in the forest but quickly unravels into something far more peculiar. Imagine stumbling upon a creature so strange, so unexpected, that it leaves you questioning everything you thought you knew about the natural world. That's exactly what happened to one man, and what he discovered would not only challenge his understanding, but also lead him on an unforgettable journey of curiosity, chaos, and connection. So settle in, because this is a story you won't want to miss. Let's dive in, shall we? What this man found in the forest was truly bizarre. A weirdly bald tiny rabbit was hiding in one of the bushes. He couldn't make much sense of the animal's appearance, but when he brought the bunny to his local vet, he got this answer. This is definitely not a rabbit. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. The well-trained dog was usually very quiet and hardly ever did anything unexpected, but now the four-legged friend was uneasy. Lewis saw his dog circling a particular bush repeatedly in the distance. It was like he was trying to tell his owner something. Lewis ran over and inspected the spot where his dog sat, and that's when he saw it. Lewis spread some of the branches of the bushes and immediately figured out why his dog was acting erratic. There was an animal hiding beneath the dense leaves of this bush, but it was the weirdest creature had ever seen. What are you? The animal was extremely tiny, and what Lewis noticed the most was that it was pretty much hairless all over its body. The tiny creature squealed like it desperately needed attention or food. She squealed and shivered, which made her appearance a sad sight to behold. Maybe her parents died, or maybe she was abandoned for some reason. Lewis spoke to his dog. Sadly, Lewis couldn't go home and leave this helpless animal behind to suffer, so in the end, he chose to bring it with him. Once home, Lewis placed the pink-bald creature on his kitchen counter. "What are you?" He uttered, confusion riddled all over his face. It looked like a small infant rabbit in a way, but if so, then there was something off about it. The baby was unable to open its eyes and looked hungry. Intriguing, the vet. "I cannot help you like this," Lisa said, frustrated. He didn't know what the animal was or what it needed. Eventually, he called his local vet for help and an explanation. He discussed the situation and described the balding animal's appearance over the phone, and the vet seemed intrigued. "Could you come over? I want to look at the animal myself, if that's okay with you," the vet said. Lewis agreed and drove to the veterinarian's office with the presumed baby rabbit in his passenger seat. Once there, the doctor got to work straight away. A quick inspection was done, and even though Lewis's conclusion that the infant was hungry was correct, other questions also arose within the doctor. The doctor injected the small animal with some much-needed fluids against dehydration, and also proved a liquid form of substance. This remark surprised Lewis, who at least thought he figured out the animal species. "What is it then?" LS asked. The vet rolled his chair over to the nearest computer and showed the confused Lewis some pictures. With this information, he argued that this animal had no typical features a normal rabbit should have. "It has larger ears and 4 legs, but that's it. When I ran my fingers over its belly and felt the organs, some also felt out of place." Lewis listened to every word carefully and hoped that a clear answer to what this animal was would come soon. But disappointment followed. Lewis agreed that the animal seemed fond of him as he stroked its bare back. "Perhaps you can take it home with you and nurture it for a while. Its determining features might appear if it regains some strength and grows a bit." Lewis couldn't argue with this logic and agreed to the proposal. Lewis drove home with the animal that day and started their journey of discovery, and it would be a strange one with many weird surprises along the way. Their mission started great, though. The mysterious rabbit-like creature ate for the first time, and as far as Lewis could tell, it slept well. Lewis's dog always slept in a separate part of the house, so he could use the dog's old dog basket as a sleeping place for the hairless creature. All of these things seemed to go perfectly, and the small critter became more and more playful. But by day, three things started to change. Louis sat straight in bed and felt his heart rate go up significantly. He pushed his bed cover aside and ran down the stairs to see what was going on. At first glance, nothing seemed to miss, but when Louis made his way over to the back door of the house, he saw that it stood wide open. The confused man knew that he had closed it before bed, just like he always did, so seeing it open like that was strange. Louis turned his head around the corner and saw that his metal trash cans had tubed LED over. "That's probably the loud noise I heard," he said calmly. The garbage bags inside the trash cans were completely ripped open, covering his entire patio with trash. Louis heard loud noises coming from the downstairs area once more, and when the confused homeowner got there this time, he found his house in a complete mess. There was junk everywhere, and Louis noticed that his pantry had been plundered this time, and evidence was present all over his living room and kitchen. There were torn open food packages everywhere, and the innards of his ground coffee container were spilled all over the floor of his house, and this time the culprit left a trail. Louis saw that there were brown coffee footprints all over his floor. They acted like a stamp trail that ran all through his house, and some of them gathered around the sleeping area of his new bald attendee. Did you really do this? How could such an innocent-looking creature cause all this havoc? During the following weeks, Louis watched the small animal like a hawk. He woke up every night to a mess in his house, and when that happened, he documented everything. Louis also saw that the creature grew quite well. She wasn't just a tiny thing he couldn't hold it in his hand anymore. The animal's weight and size increased at least quadrupled over a short period of time, and the baldness it had when he found her was slowly disappearing. The white fur grew darker, and it soon covered most of her body. She also became increasingly more playful, and Louis noticed a bond growing between them. The only annoyance he found with the little critter was that at night she was still quite active. Louis would wake up to noises and find teeth marks on her furniture legs. Most of the time there was some form of chaos down there in the form of something being knocked over or broken. But that thought would not work out quite as planned, because the very same night he tried out this theory, the same thing happened again. Louis woke up to a loud bang downstairs and sat straight in bed. The confused man looked at the dog basket beside his bed, and the creature was still there. She sat up straight, just like him, and looked at her new owner with open and kind eyes. If she wasn't doing this, then who did? Louis swung his bedroom door open and ran downstairs, and when he reached his living quarters, he was met with a scene that left him in utter shock. Louis was immobilized by confusion and doubt about what to do next. What he saw was something nobody could have prepared him for. His eyes were glued to the movement before him. So when the phone suddenly rang on the wall mount beside him, it gave him some initial jitters. The veterinarian stated that he was the one who could help on this occasion because he found out what kind of animal his bald-haired friend was. It's a Chinese naked wombat. They have a bit more hair when they are mature, but they're extremely rare in this region. But one thing still bothers me, Louis. This animal hardly ever travels alone. Wombat families are tight-knit, and they always travel in packs, taking care of each other their entire lives. Louis grinned for a moment and then took over the conversation. He said he knew and was looking at the evidence for that now. Louis still had the phone on his ear, but his eyes were pointed toward the ground where a group of 6 playful, hungry, and fully grown wombats were scattering through his living room. Louis explained what he saw, and the description made the vet laugh a bit. It also amazed him, and his half-covered furry companion left the bedroom because of it. She ran down the stairs and rejoined her wombat family. Louis was in awe of the situation, but then he noticed something peculiar that immediately explained their entry to his home. Louis followed the second small wombat into his kitchen, and there an unexpected discovery was made. The wombat ran into his pantry and pushed a floorboard aside with its paw, and when he did, a small hole was seen leading straight beneath his house. Louis never knew this floorboard was loose, but now he knew how this family of wombats got into his home. The truth behind this rampage mystery was finally revealed, combined with the identity of the bald animal he found, but it also came with a sad conclusion. It was illegal to own a wombat as a pet, and Lewis also did not want to keep his friend away from her family by keeping her. The vet came to Lewis's house, who kept the family of wombats indoors by gathering them in his garage and locking the door. They drove the furry family up to a location about 30 minutes away from his home. Once there, a woman opened the gate to a large wildlife sanctuary. "Welcome, guys," she said. Lewis greeted her and introduced the wombats to their new permanent home. They seemed to adjust to the lush green environment well from the start, but when Lewis took a few steps backward toward the excitement, his former bald pit started squealing loudly, not wanting Lewis to leave her side, and that's when the sanctuary owner came up with a wonderful proposition. It wasn't something they usually did, but given the circumstances, they could make an exception. She asked Lewis to come by weekly to visit his wombat friend, and without a slither of doubt in his voice, Lays agreed instantly. It was the perfect middle ground that would satisfy all parties. He did not have to live in a trashed house anymore and could still see the animal he grew attached to regularly, and the little wombat kept her owner in a way. After about 6 months, the little bald infant had fully grown up to an adult-sized wombat. She was happy and playful and loved living in the sanctuary. Lewis was happy as well. He grew to be a very well-trained sanctuary staff member and looked forward to his weekly visits every time.